Hello, 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 and happy March, everyone. I love this month for so many reasons. Thomas McKean's birthday, St. Patty's Day, but first and foremost, spring is in the air. I even saw some daffodils sprouting up the other day. I know. I probably just jinxed us, and we'll all be hit with a big, freaky snowstorm this month, but I try to stay positive, and as they say, thanks spring. Yes, I am a glass half full kind of guy. Anyway, another reason why I'm so excited is because March is also Women's History Month. It's time to increase awareness and knowledge of women's history. It's when we remember the contributions of notable and everyday women. So during today's episode, we will be paying homage to this celebration with a show chock full of amazing and inspiring women who you might not know, but you should. We'll talk to students, a state senator, a businesswoman, and many other rock star women. You're right, I can't really hide my excitement about this show, can I? So what are we waiting for? Let's get this show started, shall we? Welcome back to Red Clay This Month. I'm your host, Mr. Brian Mattix. Before we introduce our guests, I think it's time for a quick pop quiz. Today we will test your knowledge about Women's History Month. 4 questions. Number 1, who is known as the Angel of the Battlefield because of her work as a nurse during the Civil War? Question 2. What year did American women gain the right to vote? Question 3. Where and when was the first women's rights convention held in the United States? And last question. Who was one of the trailblazing black mathematicians and scientists who was hired by NASA and calculated the precise trajectories that would let Apollo 11 land on the moon in 1969. See how you did. All right, so question 1. Who is known as the Angel of the Battlefield because of her work as a nurse during the Civil War? The answer is Clara Barton. In 1881, Clara Barton founded the American Red Cross, still with us today. Question 2 was, what year did American women gain the right to vote? And our answer is 1920. That's 100 years ago. The 19th Amendment was added to the Constitution in 1920, guaranteeing women's suffrage. Number 3, where and when was the first women's rights convention held in the United States? And the answer is Seneca Falls, New York. In 1848, Elizabeth Cady Stanton, Lucille Mott, and 3 other women organized the first women's rights convention. Unfortunately, few people took them seriously. And finally, question number 4. Who was one of the trailblazing black mathematicians and scientists who was hired by NASA and calculated the precise trajectories that would let Apollo 11 land on the moon in 1969? Well, that answer is no other than Miss Katherine Johnson. Wielding little more than a pencil and a slide rule and one of the finest mathematical minds in the country, Miss Johnson, who recently died at the age of 101, calculated the precise trajectories that would let Apollo 11 land on the moon in 1969 after Neil Armstrong's historic making moonwalk and let it return to Earth. Are you ready to learn some more? Well then, let's bring out our first guest. She's a leader in the field of STEM education. She has a strong, positive social media presence and is an amazing teacher. From HB Dupont Middle School, please welcome Miss Keziah Finney.
No problem. Nice to see you.
Absolutely. Have a seat. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are today.
Well, I have a Bachelor's of Science in Biology, pre-med, my Master's in Education from WilmU.
Nice.
I started my teaching career in Chester, Pennsylvania, and I've bounced back and forth from Chester, PA to Wilmington, Delaware to Newcastle, and I'm now in Hockessin. Certified math and science for middle school.
Excellent.
And so I've always taught either math or science. I'm currently teaching 7th grade science at HB Dupont.
That's it.
Yeah.
I love it. So as a science educator, can you describe exactly what STEM is?
STEM is a great combo of science, technology, engineering, math, just piecing everything together.
Right.
So I love teaching science at HB because we get an opportunity to just gel everything together. We have a lot of flexibility there, and so we're able to tie in a lot of pieces of STEM. Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what makes you love teaching middle school and specifically middle school science.
Oh my gosh. Middle school students, they're still curious. They're energetic.
Yes, they are.
They have a lot of opinions.
Yes, they do.
And they come to the classroom with a lot of questions, a lot of joy, a lot of love for learning. And what I found is as long as you keep them engaged, you make learning interesting for them, you'll notice that their minds will go into places that you didn't even see in the lesson plan, which is cool. So a lot of times we go into areas, questions, conversations that I didn't think would show up in the classroom, but that's what happens in science.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
So clearly there's a big push for women, especially young women in STEM.
Yeah.
So what message do you have for women who want to pursue this as a field of interest?
I would say go for it. If this is something that you're interested in, regardless of how many women you may not see in a particular field, I would say still go for it. Women have been breaking barriers for years, and they've been doing some amazing things and pushing limits past what other people may have imagined.
Right.
So you could be next.
Could be next. So what about those students that maybe never even considered STEM, especially I feel like that is a ceiling as an educator trying to open that opportunity up for a young lady. I'm a father of 3 women, and I certainly, being a math science brain, I that's what I'm always drawn to, and I want them to enjoy it, not be intimidated by it, so they feel comfortable in that space. So what do you do to try to draw some of those young ladies in that may not have really considered it, and trying to overcome some of those hurdles?
I let them explore. I think that's the best way to allow somebody to gain an interest in something. Instead of just saying do it, instead of saying you should, letting them explore. Giving them an opportunity to build some things, giving them some materials and classes, and saying, hey, here's what we're trying to create. How could you create it? Show me. And for some students, they may say when they start science class, I'm not a science person, I'm not a math person, I'm not this kind of person. And they'll be the same students that will come up with some really great ideas that they're even blown out about, Yeah, it's cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
So I hear you were nominated for a big award. So would you like to share with our audience what it is and why you think you were chosen?
So at HB Dupont recently, I was selected as Teacher of the Year.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was a big honor, especially we have so many great teachers at HB, and what I love about the school is that we build and help each other in so many different ways. The collaboration is great. And so it's just great to be part of a big team that is supportive of each other. We received that information last week, and so it was a big moment for my students. We all were so excited about it.
They come into your classroom and announce it?
Yes, yes. The principal came in mid-lesson. I was like, what's going on? And so that was so cool. It took me back. And then I had students and teachers from other classes. They just came in like, oh my gosh, congratulations. So, yeah, tearjerker moments.
That is
It was really cool.
I'm a parent of an HB student,
Okay.
and from my perspective, I agree with you. The culture of collaboration is powerful. I can see it from the outside. And so to be selected among that group of peers is certainly an honor. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And best of luck at the next level.
Thank you.
So now we all know that you are Mrs. Finney from HB.
Right.
But you're actually making science fun for a greater audience using social media. Yeah. So what is your favorite platform out there on social media? So
initially I started out using YouTube for an educational program my husband and I created called Lyrical Math while I was teaching math at one point. So I was working on that, and we're still working on that, which is outstanding product. And so we started off using YouTube, sharing different videos and things that we were doing in the community. We followed up with sharing those links onto Facebook, Twitter, things like that. This year I had a student of mine named Ella. She said, Mrs. Finney, why don't you do TikTok? I was like, what? What is TikTok? I'm like, what is TikTok? So she explained it to me, and I was like, okay, and I said, maybe. And then it went to the back of my mind for a while, and then she came back to me, and she was really coming to me like often, like, you didn't set up your account yet, or do you need some help with that? I'll help you set up your account. So she was like, can I see your phone, help you set up an account? So we set up an account, and then at that point she was waiting for the first video. And then you didn't post the video yet. I was like, okay, I'll get to it. So she was a big motivator for me to try a new form of social media. And I noticed once I posted the video, how many students were on TikTok.
Oh yeah.
Because
that's where they live.
Then they connected. And a lot of students, they came back to class and they're like, I saw you on TikTok. I'm like, okay, cool. And they're like, when are you gonna post your next video? And so it was a no-brainer to say, I need to continue to use this as a tool to connect to my students. And how about I put some information that we're learning in class on TikTok? And so a lot of the things that we've been covering in class, I'll take those and put them on TikTok in some sort of way. And then they come back to class even more excited. I'll see students in the hallway like, I saw your TikTok video.
That's amazing.
So it's increasing the rapport with students. It's building a connection beyond what we had in the classroom. They're leaving messages like, hey, I'm going to use this to study for my test. And I'm like, perfect. Like, if this beats class notes,
seriously, yes,
let's do TikTok. If that's the next thing, let's do it. So I've learned we just have to keep up with the students. Get into their world where they are. It's great for us to get out of our comfort and be willing to try to do things in a format that works for them. Yeah. So
that's powerful.
Yeah, TikTok is a new thing.
It is. And none of my daughters have asked me to join, so I don't know. Clearly I'm not as hip as Miss Finney, so I'm struggling on some fronts. I have to talk to them. Maybe I'll just start an account anyway.
Just start an account.
Yeah. I asked my 8th grader, I'm like, can I get in a TikTok with you? No, like she won't even make eye contact at that question, and she won't verbally respond either. So
not yet, right?
Not yet. But maybe I just got to go off on my own.
Right, and then she'll jump in your video.
That's right.
There we go.
I love it, and kudos to you, because you're right that you got to chase the students. That is certainly where they're living and breathing today. And so to take your energy and your ideas where you've been on other platforms and learn something new, that's certainly one of the reasons why you're Teacher of the Year at HB.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
So speaking of videos, we want the audience to kind of get a sense of this. So I want you to talk about exactly what this is and what you do, and we're going to take a look at this video.
Okay.
Now I know this may be a challenge for some of you, but you got it. Just rock out to the beat and vibe with me. You got it. Let's fly. Rock with me. Yeah. 1 cup, 8 fluid ounce, 1 pint, 2 cups, 1 quart, 2 pints, 1 gallon, 4 quarts, 1 liter equals 1,000 milliliters. 1 kiloliter equals 1,000 liters. Let's flow. 1 cup, 8 fluid ounce, 1 pint, 2 cups, 1 quart, 2 pints, 1 gallon, 4 quarts, 1 liter equals 1,000 milliliters. 1 kiloliter equals 1,000 liters. Let's flow. 1 cup, 8 fluid ounce, 1 pint, 2 cups, 1 quart, 2 pints, 1 gallon, 4 quarts, 1 liter equals 1,000 milliliters. 1 kiloliter equals 1,000 liters. Let's flow. 1 cup, 8 fluid ounce, 1 pint, 2 cups, 1 quart, 2 pints, 1 gallon, 4 quarts, 1 liter equals 1,000 milliliters. 1 kiloliter equals 1,000 liters. Let's flow. Let's flow. What's flow? Let's flow.
So wow, tell us more about this. Who writes your lyrics? How long does it take start to finish just to make one of these videos? Because that's a lot of clips, a lot of different, I mean, you got a green screen clearly going on in there. So there's some high level tech skills that you're doing in terms of videography. And is it just you?
No.
Okay.
No.
All
So what I'm glad I was able to do, I come from a musical family, and so I've been rapping since I was a young child. I have 4 older brothers, 3 of which rap as I was growing up, and so I just picked up on the skill, and becoming a teacher, I was able to take that skill into the classroom when I realized that my students didn't pick up on traditional teaching styles at different points. I said, oh, let me try something different. I'll put it into a song. And then once they picked up on it, it was like, this works, let's keep doing it. So that was just something I picked up on and was like, hey, I need to continue to do this going forward. And so using that, once I met my husband, he actually went to school for studio production, digital filmmaking.
Perfect.
And he had a strong focus, he still has a strong focus on working with the youth. So we put our 2 disciplines together and created lyrical math. And so it started out with us having some videos. First it was 1 video he did for his senior project, and that worked well. We took that into my classroom. I gave the students a pre-test, showed the video, and then gave them a post-test, and their proficiency level went up dramatically. And this was before I even taught the lesson. And this was on adding integers at that time. So that let us know we're on to something. Let's keep doing this. So we built a curriculum with a student workbook, teacher guidebook, resource assessment book, digital video series, CDs, and a lot of other different things. And so that's how that got started. So what you just saw in this video was a combination of the discipline of my husband and myself. Just putting that together,
That's amazing. I'm blown away. And like, we know how hard and busy our lives are as teachers. You're grading papers, you're doing all this stuff. So to have the energy and the passion to have a side business, God bless you, that is powerful and clearly effective. Yeah,
it's great to be able to do something outside of teaching in the classroom that still revolves around that same passion.
Right.
You know, so I love it. I love it.
That's great.
Yeah. Glad you enjoyed the video.
I did. I did. In fact, I'm gonna probably sign up to follow your YouTube channel now. Yeah, because you never know.
Yeah.
I got daughters, and they, when they're struggling
Yeah.
on something, be like, hey, let's look at Miss Finney.
Watch that. Yeah.
So it seems like you do it all. What's next for Keziah Finney, both in and out of the classroom? Where do you see yourself going from here?
So in the classroom, I would love to continue to expand with the students as far as just having a lot more hands-on projects. Also getting them outside of the classroom to do things related to science. So some type of field trips, or even having folks come in, bring things into the classroom. Just continuing to expand. I would love to see a science fair come back. That would be really cool. So that would definitely be something I would love to see come back to HB. Yeah. And outside of the classroom, I would love to continue to share, the different ways of teaching. In my case, teaching through music across the world. So, just traveling and sharing this in different schools and getting more students excited about math and science, opening their eyes to say, hey, I didn't think I was good at this, but I actually like how this sounds. Maybe I am interested in math. Maybe I should take another look at science, And so just wanting to do my part to increase the interest for math and science. Yeah.
Well, I thank you. As a former math and science teacher, I adore all of that. I get excited about all of that. And as a father of young women, I admire your leadership and what you're doing and breaking out and reaching people. So thank you for all that you do here in Red Clay for our students and beyond, because clearly lyrical math is going way beyond Red Clay. I hope it continues to grow for you.
Thank you so much.
That is great.
Shout out to HB Warriors.
HB Warriors, Warriors strong. Warriors strong.
Yes.
Stay right there, and we will be right back after this short break with some more amazing women to help us celebrate.
Into the future. Do you remember back when I was in 7th grade? Anything that I would do, she would make fun of me, she would laugh at me, she would talk to her friends and whisper. I grew up to be more independent and love myself and just be a little bit more confident.
Aw, I'm like a little tearing up right now.
Welcome back to Red Clay this month and our celebration of Women's History Month. Our next guests embody what it means to be a strong leader, and I am excited to say that besides being the tops in their respective fields, they are strong, intelligent, passionate, and amazing people. So please join me in welcoming Senator Keziah Lockman and Miss Candice Buchanan from SummerCollab.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having us.
Oh my goodness. Have a seat, please.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to jump right in, women leaders. I'm
Yes.
so excited to have you here.
Do it.
Senator Lockman, tell us what you do as a senator. Give us a little glimpse of a day in a life.
Okay, so as a state senator, I'm elected to represent about 40,000 folks around the city of Wilmington.
Wow.
So like downtown on the riverfront, west side, sort of heading towards Newport and up Lancaster Avenue. And so I have the honor and the responsibility of making sure that we pass laws down in Dover, along with all of my colleagues in the state legislature, that sort of support the success and prosperity of those folks that are my neighbors. We do things like we pass the state budget and things like that, and there is no one set day in the life. I mean, it's really all about going out and sort of meeting people and seeing what kinds of things are going on in the district. And then, of course, for about 45 days out of the year, we are in Dover on the floor of the legislature, passing laws, passing that budget, all those kinds of things. But yes, it's a very dynamic role that's really just about listening to people and trying to do that hard work of making decisions about what's in their best interest.
Well, we appreciate what you do.
Thank you. Appreciate what you do.
Well, it's a pleasure. Ms. Buchanan, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, SummerCollab a little bit.
I am Candice Buchanan. I am a native West Virginian. Very proud of that.
Right.
Go Mountaineers.
Yes.
Wow.
At the Summer Learning Collaborative, we work with schools and community centers to help reverse summer learning loss.
Yeah.
And what that means is traditionally with our low-income youth, in the summertime we see them losing about 3 months of learning, and their more affluent peers gain about 2 to 3 months. And my organization has really put into place to help level that playing field so they have the same opportunities as those more affluent youth. And so what that means is making sure that schools and community centers have the resources that they need to implement really meaningful literacy programming for those youth, so it doesn't really feel like school, because it's also very important for them to be youth and to have fun and experience all of those other things. So my days, as the senator said, there is no one typical day in the life of the work that I do. I am often out. We are the Summer Learning Collaborative, and so most of the work that I'm doing is collaborative.
Right.
I'm working with executive directors of other organizations and schools. The best part of it is I get to actually go out and interact with the children from time to time, see them in their element, talk to them about what it means to be able to read and see the excitement at the end of the summer when they've read their first book. And so there's a lot of the high level adult stuff that happens, the meetings, the grant writing, the making sure that we're doing what we need to do. And the senator and I have had a lot of opportunities to interact to make some of these things happen for the kids. And that's why we're excited to be here to continue advocating for them.
What age ranges or grade levels do you focus on with Summer Collaborative?
K through 8. We do have an intensive focus on K-5 because, as we know, the state has a focus on getting kids on grade level reading by grade 3. From kindergarten to 3rd grade, kids are learning to read. After that point, they're reading to learn. And so if they haven't learned to read by 3rd grade, it's really difficult for them to keep up in their other subjects like history or science and even math, because you have to be able to read that content to be successful.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's a foundational skill for sure,
Yes, it is.
and transferable across all areas. So I'd like to hear from you both. I'll start with you, Senator Lockman,
Sure.
about what was your path that led you to your current position?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I think, oftentimes paths to success are winding, and mine was no different. I actually started out in media production, actually. That was what I was most interested in as a high schooler and college. But what I found myself becoming more passionate about once I became a mom was our school system and how important that is. We talk about reading, we talk about all the things that happen within our schools, and once I had a daughter who enrolled, I started getting really involved and really curious about, why are things the way they are, and just kept learning more. I took some leadership roles in the PTA and things like that, and ultimately actually made a whole career switch by going back to graduate school to study education policy and really understand how does this context get set to do all these wonderful things that you all do and that we're talking about. And that really was where the ball started rolling really fast for me, when I was asking those questions and becoming very passionate about how do we make all of our schools great? How do we make sure all of our students are getting what they need? And before I knew it, I was being asked to serve on boards and commissions and different things like that. And politics had not really been on my radar. I just knew I really cared about education, and I came to understand that the state level is where the rubber really hits the road in terms of policy and resources and all those things to do the great things we know need to be done. So when the opportunity came for me to represent my community at that level, I decided to go for it. So it's been an interesting 10 years of just sort of one step after the other of doing volunteer work and community organizing and learning about the issues, and to the point of where I felt, okay, I think I have the skill set to be a legislator and make a difference.
I agree. I've heard you speak at times. I've been blessed to have been in the audience, and your passion exudes. So certainly, it was always clear to me of your interest and focus on kids first and what to do. And so I'm grateful for you being now in a position to make an influence. Because no offense to some of your colleagues, but not all of them have had that same path and that same background and certainly an interest in education. So selfishly, I certainly want people to focus on that piece of it.
I'm a proud product of Red Clay, proud to have a daughter who's gone through mostly Red Clay schools, and we got to keep it going.
Yes, ma'am. So the path from West Virginia to Wilmington.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I always knew that I wanted to work with youth. I think that was evident from a very young age. Unfortunately, in high school, early on I had a negative job shadowing experience in a classroom setting then I changed my career path to business and then the science field. And so, like the senator said, very, very winding path.
Sure.
I had a really, someone who was my AP chemistry teacher in high school. That's something I was good at. She recognized that, and she also knew that I was interested in getting out of West Virginia for college. And she approached me. I was really good at chemistry. She said, food science is a lot of chemistry. Let's think about that. We can get you out of West Virginia, and University of Delaware participates in the academic common market with West Virginia.
Yeah.
And so I was able to attend college here for in-state tuition, even though I wasn't from here.
Yes.
And so it was a great experience. I really enjoyed it. I spent about a summer working in a laboratory and quickly realized I did not want to be doing science. Not how I was going to change the world. And so I went back to grad school to study community development and nonprofit leadership. I did a lot of volunteering and mentoring, during those college years.
Sure.
And that's really where I felt fulfilled. And I knew that's where I wanted to be. And that at that point, I had I set a goal for myself that by the time I was 40, I wanted to be running a youth serving organization. And so I did it. Yeah, I did it.
Good job.
6 years early. I forgot what it was. And so after graduate school, I went and started off as a youth advisor and youth program manager at the YWCA Delaware, overseeing youth programming throughout the state. I dabbled a little bit in the charter school world, supporting charter school boards. Sure. And then I started working with the Delaware Department of Education and the governor's office, overseeing some small projects, the Governor's Basic Needs Closets, the Compassionate Connections Partnership, which really focuses on providing trauma-informed care supports to teachers, and the state's ESSA plan, which some folks may be a little familiar with.
Well,
Right. And that was one of those committees that I pulled you into.
Yes.
And then from there, I was really enjoying that work, but I was also really missing the interaction with the youth and that direct impact. Around that time, the founder and CEO of the Summer Learning Collaborative reached out and asked if I was ready to join her team as a director of programs and partnerships. Wow. And I happily accepted and came back to doing more of that direct service work. Yeah. About 6 months later, she stepped down and I was asked to step into the interim president role. And this past October, the board of directors formally named me president. So a little bit of a winding, which I think is pretty typical here. But I've definitely landed where I want and think need to be.
Right.
Yeah. And the power of the connection with the youth and being able to see the benefit, that's certainly what keeps me going. I've always fear, people always ask, are you going to ever leave, McKean? Are you ever going to leave a building? And I fear that because I like the daily interaction with young people.
Yeah.
It's what energizes, it's why we do what we do. Right. So I got tingly when I was listening to you and your journey, and that's what pulled you in.
You're in the right role too.
It's good news for us that you like where you are. That's very good news for all of us.
So let's talk a little bit about women.
Okay.
Because
Let's
it is
do it.
Women's
Yes,
Month.
let's
So,
do it.
I wore my women's history colors, my
Yay.
suffrage colors.
So obviously women have come a long way. I'd like to ask each of you of something that you've been proud of, our accomplishments as a gender, and like where ceilings that women have broken through. So
Oh my gosh,
I
where do you
know.
even begin? I think there's so much. I mean, I'll go the political route since that's my role these days. But I wore my women's suffrage colors, which is like the white, the purple, and the yellow, because it is the 100th anniversary of women having the right to vote. It's only 100 years old, which is crazy if you think about it.
It is crazy.
So I think obviously, the path that we've gone from just getting the right to vote to the progress that we've made in those 100 years, where now we're seeing incredible increase in the number of women that are running for office and taking their civic role beyond voting to engaging in other ways, which I think women have always done. I think we have tended to do things behind the scenes. The PTA mom style. I grew up with that as my role model in my household, to really stepping forward and taking a leadership role, and also working on things like how do we make that work more intersectional, so looking at gender but also looking at race and class, and really trying to embrace everyone. I think that is I think that's something that women bring to the table in a very strong way that I love seeing us make progress on. So I think just that whole 100 years of increased sort of at the front of things, civic leadership is something that I love being a part of.
I would take it back to the youth. One of the things that I think that has been a huge progression is when I was young, I didn't see us on TV. I didn't see us in media. Granted, technology wasn't what it was back then, but there was television. We're not that old. And we certainly just didn't see representatives in many spaces, not just politics, but in leadership positions in general. And so even in those 35 years, I think we've grown a lot in getting out from behind the scenes, and folks really taking us seriously. We're strong, we're smart, we're intelligent, and we can do all of the things that we want to do. And I now am able to serve as a role model and mentor to young youth, and there's so many other women like the senator who are also able to do that. And I think that's critical, because you can believe in yourself, but it's a lot more difficult when you don't have a vision or a picture of someone else doing that.
Yeah, it's the whole power of the hidden figures idea. It's like, how do we bring those figures out from hiding and make sure people know that anything's possible?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's so important for all of our youth to be able to connect with a strong adult that looks like them, and maybe even has come from their own neighborhood, and to be able to aspire to be like them. And so with that, since you are both people that young ladies look up to, who is it that you two look up to? Who are your role models?
Yeah, that's such a hard question. I was reflecting on that, and I think this is something that Candice and I share. I couldn't think of any like big celebrities or anything like that. I don't know. If
no
that's a pro or
heroes,
con.
famous people.
I mean, I think of my mom and my grandmother and the things that they experienced and did. My grandmother was a teacher in a one-room schoolhouse that was integrated in like the 1910s in Pennsylvania. I love that's like one of my favorite pictures. So if I think of a role model, I think of what was she experiencing and what was she learning, and so I think about that. There were a lot of moms in my life. I'm a big believer in sort of that motherhood power, and those were the folks that nurtured me, whether it was my mother or educators. I could name dozens of them, but I don't know if there was one big hero wearing a cape. It was the people doing that day-to-day heavy lifting of caring for me and caring for my peers that always meant the most to me.
I agree.
Yeah.
That is powerful. And particularly working moms.
Yes.
I mean, any mom, right? Like if you're a stay-at-home mom, you're working your tail off.
Yeah, true.
So
Biggest
there's
job.
no question about it. I don't think I could be a stay-at-home parent.
Yeah.
Like it's tough work. But to see, I respect my wife so much because she's in a leadership role and she's doing, her day is just as hard as my day, but yet she goes home and wears the mom hat.
Yep.
And she does it seamlessly. And so when I think about complaining about things, I kind of shut them out. Because I'm like,
That's a good policy.
she's just doing it and it makes it look so easy. And so my hat tips to all of you working moms.
A lot of us multitask, in that way. And it's hard, but I think we take that very seriously, that number one job, if you choose to be a mother, which not all women do, of course, but if you choose to be a mother, that is a huge, more than full-time responsibility, and probably a lot of the other things we choose to do are somewhat in service of that. I know that's how I feel about it.
I agree.
That's a great point. How about role models for you, Candice?
Yeah, very similar. I definitely did not have to look far from home. I think it started with my grandparents. They're probably, all of them, the most giving people that I knew. They have very, very strong family values that can be seen today. They were incredibly involved in the community in a variety of ways. I'll actually shout out my only living grandparent right now, my grandfather, whose birthday was last week, his 98th birthday. He is West Virginia's only surviving Tuskegee Airman.
That's awesome.
And so I am incredibly proud, and it's really difficult to not have him as a role model, along with the other grandparents. And my mother as well. She's a social worker, and so she worked very hard to support her family and the kids who she worked with in foster homes, in the juvenile justice system, and group homes. My aunt, who I was very close with, probably saw hundreds of foster children in her lifetime. And so, you know, that kind of idea of helping and giving and working with youth has always been ingrained in my family. And I saw a dedication and commitment to that from a very young age, which I am sure crafted some of my passions as well. And definitely my older sisters. They're quite a bit older than me, and so I've always really aspired to do what they do, to be what they are. They are compassionate, they're giving, strong, determined women who are killing it right now, both full-time working moms. And it's incredible to see that continuing generation after generation.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And it's something that, as parents, you know, you're proud to see that generational thing and raising your kids in that vein and hoping that they follow that suit. Speaking of that, what advice would you give? I've got a ton of wonderfully strong women here at McKean High School, and so what advice would you give to these young ladies who are aspiring to be in leadership roles, or maybe not necessarily aspiring today, but you and I know they're going to be in leadership roles.
We know they're going to.
I'll go for it. For it. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. If you see that job posting that you don't feel like you're 100% qualified for, apply anyway.
Totally.
I can guarantee there rarely are people 100% qualified, and I can guarantee you that there are some men who are looking at that same position and confidently saying, "I can do that job anyway. I can get the job done." And so I think, unfortunately, a lot of women sell themselves short before they even enter the process. You've got to put yourself in the process and have confidence in yourself. And in doing that, you want to make sure that you're also surrounding yourself with the right allies and people who believe in you. There are always going to be naysayers, but if you have the right support network, you can drown out that noise. And the last thing I would say is, there will be challenges, expect them, but also don't be afraid to be the challenger or the person in the room who has an opinion that everybody else doesn't have, because groupthink is definitely the enemy of good decision making. And so really sticking to your guns and your gut feeling, even if everyone else in the room thinks something different. I'm sure the senators, like, how we got here. Like,
resonates with me so much. I remember the first time I applied for a job with the word director in the title, I was like, I'm not ready to be a director, and I was pushed by some women who were supportive of me that I had worked with in other contexts that made me believe I could do that. And that is, it's so true that we often second guess ourselves, or we sort of wait for all the planets to align and everything to be perfect before we move. I think a lot of people can probably relate to that. And you know, you don't have to wait for everything to be perfect to take a chance on, you know, growing yourself and facing a challenge. And I think the other things that I would just add, those are all great ones, including especially building your team of allies, but really to be true to yourself. You don't have to be someone else to be successful in the world. I think sometimes, particularly as women, it's sort of, you know, being in the non-dominant gender, socially speaking, we think that we have to try to be something that we're not. I think that women can be successful as women, and all the things that you are that comes with that, or whatever your personality is, just sort of own it and be that, and bring that into these spaces where maybe we aren't the ones who are filling up the rooms yet, but our voices and our perspectives are so important. And when you start growing into those challenges, you'll find that bravery to speak up. I know it took me a long time, but boy, does it feel good when you do. Definitely.
Wow.
And don't forget to bring other women along
Yes.
with you.
Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I strengthen numbers, and I certainly hope to see more women fill in those spaces and fill in those rooms, because I value very much so, not just because I'm a father of 3 lovely ladies,
Oh, yeah.
and they're all very strong women, and they got a strong mama.
Yep.
But, you know, I think it's really important for the next generation to take an even greater leap forward.
Yes.
I know, just being, not to put men down, but being a guy, sometimes we think with our muscles more than we think with our hearts.
Yeah.
And that's what I've always admired about strong women, is
Right.
that no matter what, they can be as tough as the toughest guy,
Oh, yeah.
but yet their compassion and the heart's right there
Yeah.
side by side.
We
So
keep it connected.
I can't thank you both enough to take
Thank
the
you.
time
Thanks
out
for
of your
having
busy
us.
day to be
Yes.
with us and
Yes.
sharing your amazing stories. You're both truly inspirational for
Thank
our
you.
young ladies out there, and it's been a pleasure to have you.
Pleasure
on
to
the
have you
show.
too. Thanks for being a great ally to women.
Thank you.
Keep it up.
I will try. I will do my best. I don't really have a choice. I'm
Yeah.
completely outnumbered at home. 1 boy and 4 women. So I am with you till the end.
Thank you.
Stay tuned. When we return, we will meet some amazing young women who will walk the halls of our schools throughout Red Clay School District.
Anytime they're playing music downstairs, it's loud. I go downstairs, see what they're doing, see what music they're doing, see what they're dancing to. I go play piano downstairs, they come get involved. Leah has a drum set beside it, banging that. Any music, that's what they do.
Welcome back to Red Clay this month. In continuing our celebration of Women's History Month and Women in Leadership, we knew there was no better place than to look right here in our Red Clay schools. And let me tell you, the possibilities were endless. So many young people who are doing such important and incredible work. It was tough to narrow down to just one, so we chose 3. So please help me welcoming to our show from Thomas McKean High School, 3 wonderful young ladies. Miss Keziah Hart with our girls basketball team, Miss Angie Sandoval with MOE Robotics, and Miss Kayla Kelsey with Best Buy. Thank you for being here, ladies. It is quite my pleasure to bring you on the show and have some conversations about you. Now, I just introduced each of you with a little bit of a title next to your name or a connection to the activities. You and I know that you all do so many things here. You're involved in so much. So I would like you to tell our community a little bit about each of you, and I'm going to start with you, Ms. Keziah. So introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the leadership roles that you have here.
Well, my name is Keziah Hart, and I am the captain of the basketball team for 3 years now. And now I am a blue gold candidate for our school going into the basketball.
Yes,
and I am also National Honor Society and Rho Kappa vice president.
That's wonderful. And Angie, how about you?
I am part of the MOE Robotics Club here in Wilmington, Delaware. I am the vice president of the team as well as the lead person for my sub-team, which is the social media team. And I also do work outside of school, so it is a little difficult managing everything, but you know,
Indeed.
you gotta get things done.
You gotta get it done.
Yeah.
Absolutely. God bless you for balancing it all. Kayla, how about you?
So I'm vice president of the Best Buddies program here at McCain. And I'm also a cheerleader of 4 years. And this year I am a blue gold cheerleader for, I don't know how many years of their football games at UD this year. So I'm excited.
You should be excited.
Yes.
And I couldn't be prouder of all of you. I mean, you're all really amazing. You're stars. You're not rising stars, you're stars. You're starring in the things and the activities that you're currently doing. And you were identified because of your leadership skills and because of the strengths that you have. So I have a question for you. What qualities do you think a good leader would have?
Some qualities I think a good leader should or has is being strong-minded, leading by example, but also letting other people, speak their mind as well as also just being honest and being somebody that you could talk to.
That's great. I love that. That's great. Angie, what do you think of when we say good leaders?
I would definitely agree with strong-minded and being encouraging to other students, especially to those students who are kind of lacking here and there. Like, they have that potential and you just have to find ways to bring it out of them, really.
Right. That's great. Kayla?
Oh, they literally stole the words out of my mouth. Leading by example, really.
Oh, yeah.
And helping people that need help. Mostly. Yeah.
I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I aspire to lead in that way. I try to, maybe you've seen me, like I'm not afraid to get the mop and mop things up, get the broom and sweep things up and clean off the tables in the cafeteria, because if I'm not going to do it, how can I expect somebody else to do it? And so I agree with that. I think being a good leader is leading by example.
Yes.
But all of those things that you all said, being strong and being a good listener, that's important as well. So, Kayla, I'm going to start with you on this next question, but it'll go to all three of you. Where do you see yourself in 5 years or in 10 years?
So I want to be a special ed teacher, so I'm hoping to be in that pathway by then. And live in Florida, so.
Nice.
And do both of those together.
I love it.
Fun.
A career and a place you want to live. That is impressive. Florida, for any particular reason?
It's warm all year round.
Amen to that. All right, I agree. Angie, how about you? 5 years, 10 years?
Originally, I always saw myself as directing, since I started here at McKean with the whole film program, but then I kind of went to the robotics program and saw some different things that I could do with the same skills I have, and now I'm seeing myself more of a social media coordinator, marketing director, something along those lines.
Right. That's great.
Yeah.
I love that. How about you, Miss Hart?
Unlike everybody else, I don't know what I want to do. I would like to still be playing basketball by that time. And also, since I do play basketball, I would like to be a physical therapist, to be, give back, since, play sports, might as well. And I really don't know, but I have a lot of things.
Well, the great news is you don't need to know today. And what I do know about you is everything you do it well, and you try your best, and that's a great part of the journey, is diving into it. We always say that in our career pathways. Like, it might not be what you want to do when you grow up, but embrace that pathway, learn everything there is to know about it, and it'll help you grow, and then it will help guide your decisions later on. So I tried that. I don't think I really want to do that exactly, but that's wonderful. Yes. How about role models beyond our school? I mean, there's so many strong women out there in the media, in politics, and leadership roles in our state, in the country, in the world. So what women might you be looking up to way beyond the walls of McKean? Kalia?
Well, of course, my mother.
Yeah.
She's strong, and we've been through a lot, so she kept me pushed and motivated. Well, also my dad, too, but since it's women, it's my mom. And of course, when it comes to me, it's basketball. So Candice Parker, because not only does she play basketball and what I want to strive to be, she also gives back to her community and gives back to the youth, and making sure that everybody is okay, like starting camps for them, for the fundamentals. And like everybody that's above me, like gives me strength and gives me that feeling like I can do it too. So
that's awesome. Angie, who do you look up to outside of the walls here?
I don't really have those type of like celebrity or politician or like higher up women that I look up to, but I do have my mom. She's really been my source of motivation, my encouragement throughout my entire life, because we've had our fair share of things, and it's like, I know I'm going to have my own fair share without her, but it's nice to have her here with me right now and just have her push me even though I don't want to be pushed.
Yes, moms are good for that.
Oh yes, very good.
Kayla, how about you?
I would like to thank my mother.
Yeah.
She has helped me through a lot and pushed me to be the best I am. Yeah.
Well, that's a great tribute to all the moms out there. Keep up the good work, moms. So here's a good one. Advice that you would give an 8th grader trying to enter high school. And let's focus on women. It's Women's Month. So an 8th grade young lady entering high school. Kayla, I'll start with you. What advice would you give that 8th grade young lady?
High school goes by fast. You'll have your ups and downs, but they're meant to be. And when high school ends, you're going to be upset and miss all your friends. Because I know I'm a senior now and I'm already miss my friends, even though I'm still a senior here.
Yep.
And I'll miss them when I graduate.
Yeah.
So also make friends that you know are going to be your friends forever, because not everybody can stay. Not everybody is a true friend until high school you find out.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's great advice. Angie, what advice do you have for that 8th grade young lady?
I would definitely say don't be afraid to get involved in extracurricular activities, because one thing that makes us unique, we're each involved in one thing or another, and we probably more than likely have classes together. Like Kalia, I have calculus with her, and it's not bad to get involved. Sure, it's going to be scary, but with those type of things that you get involved, you're going to find those type of true friends that you have something in common. And if you weren't part of that club, you probably would have never found out.
And to think about me knowing the things you are all involved with and how much those experiences shape you. And if you only stayed in a classroom, you're missing out on all of those rich, amazing experiences. So I think that's tremendous advice. Don't be afraid to get involved. That's a good one. Kalia, what's your advice for that 8th grade young lady?
One thing I can say is just push yourself no matter what, because it's been a rough year already. So me knowing what I've been through, and then this year on top of it, just push yourself even though, you go through things. And it's not going to be always pretty, and sometimes it's going to be even overwhelming. So just know that if you push yourself, good things will come, and even bad things will come. You never know until you try.
I love all of that advice. I'm going to be sharing that with my young ladies at my house. You all make me so proud, and you warm my hearts. It's been a pleasure to see you all grow, and I can't wait to see your journey continue. And I just hope that you come back and you share your success, because you will all have great success. It won't be easy, but I know you will have great success. So I am very proud of who you are and who you're going to be. And so thank you for being with us here and sharing yourselves with our Rec Lake community today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also want to thank Keziah Finney, Senator Lockman, and Miss Candice Buchanan. And of course, a big thank you to you, our audience, for joining us this special episode of Red Clay this month as we celebrate women. And as always, I like to end the show with a quote. And this one from Oprah Winfrey seems fitting for this episode. Think like a queen. A queen is not afraid to fail. Failure is another stepping stone to greatness. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.